I'm Sister Lorraine, the Director of Water with Blessings. The purpose of this video is to give you instruction on how to make a filter sock. A filter sock is a little crocheted cover for a filter. The filter, if it's dropped on a hard surface, could crack or break, but with this filter sock on it, it's going to be protected. It's also going to look a lot nicer. And so it's going to make this into a special gift for a mother somewhere out there in the world of dirty water who's now going to have clean water and a nice protection for her filter. So I'm going to be turning this over to Barbara, the teacher, for this section of the video. And we hope you can follow this video point by point and learn how to make filter socks.
Hello, I'm Barbara, and I'm going to be your teacher today. Hopefully you will have in front of you a copy of our filter sock pattern. The pattern includes instructions, a photo, full-size photo to help you reach the correct size, including tips on how to use a toilet paper roll and a bottle cap to check your size. The addresses, our shipping address is on our pattern as well. If you plan to make a lot of these, especially with a group of crocheters, please ask us about the mock filter that we can send to you easily to check your lots of socks. If you don't have a pattern or to ask about the mock filter, please contact us at Water with Blessings. Okay, let's get started. To begin, let's look at materials. You'll need a size G crochet hook, about 40 yards of standard weight yarn, either acrylic or cotton. This is a great project for leftover yarn from your bigger projects. For sizing your work, an empty toilet paper roll, a bottle cap from a pop bottle. Now let's take a look at the stitches. There are 3 basic stitches that you'll need to create the filter sock. I'll show you how to do each stitch, and in the process how to use them to make the filter sock. The stitches are a chain stitch, a half double crochet, and a simple decorative stitch that is based on the chain stitch for the final decorative edge. I am right-handed. I'm sorry if you need a left-handed instruction. Please take a look at the videos on YouTube. There are quite a few available.
The chain stitch is the simplest of stitches. Begin with a small slip knot. Leave a tail of about 4 inches. Wrap the yarn around your finger to make a loop. Pull the loop off your finger while pinching it closed. Pick up the yarn at the top and tuck a bit through the loop. Pull on that bit while you hold the bottom yarn firm in your other hand. Now slip the loop over the crochet hook and gently pull the end that will move until the loop fits over the hook, not too tight. You want to be able to freely slide the loop up and down the hook. Now hold the long end of the yarn in your left hand and loop it over your fingers like this to get a little tension. Different people handle their yarn in different ways. As you gain skill, you will find the way that best suits you. In the right hand, we have the crochet hook with the beginning loop. Between the 2 hands, we have a little tension with the yarn passing through the fingers on the left. This will become more instinctive as you gain skill. We tuck the hook under the yarn, catch it in the hook end, and pull it through the first loop while we turn the hook just a little, with a little tension to help the new loop fit snugly in place of the first loop. Now just repeat, making a new loop, pulling it through your last loop, watching the chain grow. Be patient with yourself. It is very common for beginners to have to practice this for a while. You will find that with practice, your muscle memory takes over and the stitch becomes instinctive. Don't hesitate to pull out your work and practice until you can make an even chain. We're going to practice this stitch and at the same time make a chain that is about 75 stitches long. This way you will become more accustomed to the feel of the yarn and hook before you start the filter sock. And you will also be making the chain tie that you will use after you complete the filter sock. When you have a nice even chain that is about 75 stitches long, cut the end with about 3 inches of extra yarn. Hook the short yarn one last time and pull it through your last loop and pull it tight. Set this chain aside and be prepared to begin your filter sock. By the way, this step is actually the last part of the pattern, but it's such good practice for beginners that we are jumping ahead to do it now. Now we are ready to begin row 1 of the actual filter sock. Begin just as you did before with a slip knot. Make a chain of 14. This chain is going to come around to make a little circle that is the foundation of the bottom opening of your filter sock. When you have 14, close the chain to make the circle. Insert the yarn into the first chain, catch the yarn, and pull it through the 2 loops on the hook. Now we move to the next stitch, the half double crochet stitch. This stitch creates a very stiff, thick crocheted material, which is just what we need to protect the filters. This part is actually the most challenging part of the pattern and right at the beginning. But once you have gotten past this first row, this stitch will be much, much easier. What we want to do is use the second row of stitching, or actually what we call row 1, to cover over the chain circle. Hold the circle in your left hand along with the long end of your yarn. For the first stitch, tuck the hook under and over the long yarn to look like this. Now we see 2 loops on the hook. Now tuck the hook into the interior of the circle under the chain stitches. On the other side, catch the yarn with the hook and pull it back up in front of the chain. Now on the hook we see 3 loops. Now we catch the yarn one last time in the hook above the circle. We turn the hook a little to catch the yarn in place and pull that new loop back through all 3 loops that we had on the hook. When we pull it snug, we are left with 1 new loop on the hook. Now we repeat for the second stitch. Under and over 2 loops, into the circle, hook the yarn and pull it back through 3 loops. Hook the yarn one last time and pull it through all 3 at once, and we're back to 1 new loop. Repeating for the third stitch. Under and over 2 loops, through the circle, hook the yarn from behind, pull it back in and up, 3 loops. Hook the yarn one last time and pull it through all 3 at once, back to 1 new loop. And keep repeating until we have 21 stitches covering the chain circle. Every so often you will have to slip the stitches closer together on the chain circle to make room for the new ones. Oops. When you have 21 stitches, you will need to check to see that they are spread out evenly. It's okay if you can see a little of the chain between the stitches. And again, every so often, you just need to stop and move the stitches over. Again, this is the most challenging section, but as you go along, it gets a lot easier. Just feels a little awkward at first to try to catch that chain circle inside those first stitches. But once you have the hang of it, it's really simple to do. And we've got to count to see if we have 21 stitches. And one more, and we'll have 21, and spread them out evenly on the circle. Now, before we move on, let's check the size of our work. This first part must fit easily on a pop bottle cap, not too tight and not too loose. If the work is too tight or too loose, we won't be able to use your filter sock. A too small circle at this point usually means the chain was made too tightly, or you have too few chain stitches in the circle. Too big, that means your chains are not tight enough, or you have too many in the circle. Sorry, but if the work is too small or too big, you will need to take it out and start over. But let's assume your work is just right. Now we can move ahead with building the tube of the sock using more half double crochet stitches. To go to the next row, we just move up and forward onto the first stitch of the last row. Do not turn your work and go back in the other direction. Just like before, with one small change, you are making half double crochet stitches. First, like before, go under and over, so you have 2 loops. Here's the change. Don't go through the circle. Insert the hook under all the loops of your very first half double stitch in row 2. Now, like before, hook the yarn, pull it through. Now you have 3 loops. Like before, hook the yarn one last time and pull it through all 3 at once, back to the 1 new loop. Move forward to the next stitch and repeat. Hook over to make 2, through the stitch under all the loops of the last stitch below, hook and pull through. Now you have 3 loops, hook and pull through all 3, and you're back to 1. And again, repeat, and again. Be careful not to skip any stitches. Now here's the beauty of this pattern. You don't have to count anymore, because you are just moving forward and spiraling up to make a tube. The tube should automatically stay the same size all the way up. If the tube gets smaller, you are skipping stitches. If the tube gets larger, you are putting more than 1 stitch in the same place. Now you're going to keep going on that until you have about an inch or 2 of tube completed. After the tube is about 2 inches high, it's time to check the size again. Slip the tube over an empty toilet paper roll. as before, the goal is not too tight and not too loose. Be sure to check every filter sock at all the checkpoints until you have become very confident about the size. It makes us sad when we get socks that we can't send to a waterwoman because we know a lot of love went into making them. But let's assume your work is just right. Continue working forward, around and around. Sometimes you might find yourself somehow working from inside the work, which is a lot more difficult. All you have to do is flip the work inside out, so you are now working from outside the tube. Keep on working with the same stitch until the tube is about 5.5 inches high. Now find the photo on the pattern that shows the correct size in inches. This photo should be about life size when you print it out. Check the filter sock against the photo or measure it with a ruler. The filter sock should be about 5.5 inches long before you add the decorative edge. Another way to check is to make sure that the toilet paper roll will fit down into the tube, not too tightly, not too loose, and that's a perfect size to cover a filter. Now we are ready to end the tube that makes the filter sock. We cut the yarn about 3 inches from the hook, or from the last loop. Now we use the hook to pull the short cut yarn all the way back through the last loop and pull that tight. Now use your hook to weave the short end into stitches near the top of the filter sock. After you have woven in the end 3 or 4 times, you can cut the yarn close to the hook, close to the work. Now pick up your 75 stitch chain tie and use your hook to weave the tie in and out around the top of the filter sock, about 2 rows down from the top. After you have woven all the way around, just finish off with a bow. Please send or bring your filter socks to our headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky. The address is on the pattern, but just in case you need it, here it is again. Okay, we have a beautiful finished filter sock. Great job there, Barbara. Thank you. And we know that this might be your very first project in crocheting, so it might take you a while to feeling comfortable with doing this. But the more you do it, the more you will find it to be enjoyable and easy. And every one of these filter socks that you make will be a really special gift and a blessing to a mother somewhere out there in the world who has it to cover her filter. So please do say a little prayer of blessing when you finish it. And thank you for all your help.